Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. Polling for 96 seats in fourth phase of India's parliamentary election passes off peacefully. 62.84% turnout recorded till 8 p.m. Srinagar records the highest turnout in decades. India signs a 10-year pact with Iran to operate the Shahid Beheshti port in Chabahar as a connectivity hub linking South Asia and Europe via Afghanistan and Central Asia. India creates 514 million jobs between 2014 and 2024, says a Scotch report. Annually, more than 50 million person-years of employment generated since 2014. President Vladimir Putin of Russia taps economist Andrei Belousov for defense minister, replaces Sergei Shoigu in a surprise move. And Israel opens a new humanitarian aid crossing in coordination with the US as its military pushes into Gaza from the north and south. All right, first up, let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. The fourth phase of India's parliamentary election ended on Monday. It was largely peaceful. Polling was held for 96 seats spread across 9 states and 1 union territory. More than 62% voter turnout was recorded in this phase of election. Raghav Kumar Jha reports.
Long queues of voters were seen at different polling booths in the fourth phase of India's parliamentary election. Started at 7 in the morning and concluded at 6 in the evening, barring certain assembly segments of the 17 parliamentary constituencies of Telangana where polling time was extended to enhance voter participation. 96 parliamentary constituencies spread over 9 states and 1 union territory got covered in the fourth phase, which include 25 seats in Andhra Pradesh, 17 in Telangana, 13 in Uttar Pradesh, 11 in Maharashtra, 8 seats each in Madhya Pradesh and West Bengal, 5 in Bihar, 4 seats each in Jharkhand and Odisha, along with 1 seat of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. A total of 1,717 candidates are in fray in this phase of election. Some of the prominent candidates whose political fate got sealed in the EVMs on Monday include BJP leaders Giriraj Singh, Arjun Munda, G. Kishan Reddy, Ajay Kumar Mishra, JDU's Rajiv Ranjan Singh, Samajwadi Party's Akhilesh Yadav, Congress leader Adi Ranjan Chaudhary, TMC leaders Mahua Moitra, Shatrughan Sinha, and AIMIM leader Asaduddin Owaisi. Special enthusiasm was seen among the youth and women voters across the country.
I do wish there are a lot of big changes that come in the future, be it the schemas or regarding education policies or poverty.
Just for our India, the city must be clean, neat, and so many poors are there. For that one, means arrange the good things for them.
I feel good and just want to cast my vote for the development of the country, and I also request everyone to cast their vote and come out in large numbers.
The queues have swelled from the morning to the afternoon, with people braving the heat and the humidity. And though they've thinned towards the end of the day, people believe it's worth their time to have cast their vote, even if they waited 3 hours sometimes.
Voters in Jammu and Kashmir's Srinagar constituency also cast their ballots to decide the fate of 24 candidates in the fray. It was the first time when voters of Kashmir exercised their franchise after the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. Voting for all 175 assembly seats of Andhra Pradesh and 28 assembly seats of Odisha also took place on Monday. Raghav Kumar Jha's report, DD India.
All right, time to bring in DD India's team of reporters covering the election from the ground. Joining me are Debyendu Mondal, who is in Ranaghat, West Bengal. We have Mark Lynn at Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and Akshay Dongre is in Hyderabad, Telangana. Coming to you first, Debyendu, give us a flavor of all that happened through the day in Ranaghat and elsewhere in the state.
Well, Ramesh, very good evening to you from West Bengal. Today was, we have witnessed this election in West Bengal to be mostly peaceful. There were some incidents of violence that came in specifically from the constituency of Bardhaman Durgapur constituency, where the BJP's Dilip Ghosh is contesting against former cricketer and now Trinamool Congress candidate Kirti Azad. There were multiple reports, in fact, of violence that came in from that particular constituency, and also the Bardhaman Purva, which is the Bardhaman North constituency. Some stray incidents had also been reported from Krishnanagar. But why I'm telling all this is, Ramesh, because, West Bengal has been marred with poll violence for a very, very long time. And this is perhaps one of the first in the last 1 decade that we have seen the elections in Bengal to be relatively peaceful, with no major incidents being reported from this particular elections. In fact, apart from one incident which I mentioned earlier, in which the BJP claims or alleges, in fact, that the convoy of the former state president Dilip Ghosh and now candidate of Purva Bardhaman Durgapur had been attacked by TMC goons in his constituency while he was doing rounds in his constituency. Apart from that, what I sensed on the ground about the mood and about the issues of these particular constituencies that goes to polls is, of course, the issue of corruption, which the Trinamool Congress government is battling for a very long time. Several of their ministers are currently in jail. Apart from that, there were issues of unemployment, there are issues of lack of infrastructure development and civic amenities in many parts of the rural hinterlands of Bengal. So these were, of course, the issues, but also, Ramesh, one has to understand when they talk about the politics of Bengal is, of course, about the multiple social welfare schemes and the doles that the Trinamool government have been giving out to the people of Bengal, and this is without caste, creed, religion, class, etc. Every woman in the state gets about 1,000 to 1,500 rupees in their bank account every month. So this particular scheme of the West Bengal government is doing some good for the Trinamool Congress when they're contesting elections here amongst the women voters. There are multiple other schemes for the women of West Bengal which are attracting the women voters towards the Trinamool Congress. Of course, the battle is tough. There are 3 more phases to go. West Bengal is polling in all the 7 phases. The voter turnout today, if I talk particularly about this particular phase, it has been about 76% as of 6 p.m. As per the latest Election Commission data. But it is likely to increase slightly more than about 78 to 79%. The Bengal have been always polling really high numbers. But this time around also we are hoping that the 80% mark that Bengal have been recording over the last 1.5 decade would be met by the electorate of Bengal. Back to you.
Right. From Ranaghat in West Bengal, let me now take you to Hyderabad in Telangana, where my colleague Akshay Dongre is standing by. Akshay, how was the voter turnout in Hyderabad and elsewhere in the state as well?
Well, Ramesh, when it comes to the voter turnout in Hyderabad, it was quite disappointing as far as the overall voter turnout in Telangana is concerned. The voter turnout remained below 40%. In fact, it was just above 39%, the overall voting percentage. In fact, it's not just Hyderabad. The neighboring constituency also, including Sikandrabad and Malkajgiri, reported below 50% voter turnout, and that was, in fact, a watershed moment for the efforts that the Election Commission has been making as far as the awareness is concerned, as far as making people aware is concerned, to come out and cast their ballot in this general elections. However, if you look at the urban areas, this has been the trend, not just in this election but in the last elections as well. Voting turnout has generally been low. And usually it is the case when the voting day is just next to or just ahead of the weekend, where the working professional usually consider taking a long weekend off instead of just being there at their homes and considering going out to polls. And the scorching heat of Telangana also played a key role in that. However, if you look at the rural areas, including the areas of Adilabad, the voting turnout remained quite high. It was 69%.
Right.
If you look at areas like Bhongir, it was 72% of voting turnout, and overall the voting turnout in Telangana remained while below the national average. It was slightly above 61%, which was not that great, but it remained almost as equal as 2019 voting turnout in the state, and it remains to be seen that what is going to be the result of this voting percentage when the results are given out on 4th of June.
All right, from Hyderabad, let me hop across to the neighboring state of Andhra Pradesh, where my colleague Mark Lynn is standing by at Visakhapatnam. Mark, how did the polling go? Was it peaceful, barring incidents such as a ruling party legislator manhandling a voter in Guntur?
Yes, indeed, Ramesh. Apart from that one incident, polling was by and large peaceful. In fact, people did make a noise about a few VIPs trying to, break the queue and going in and voting ahead of their turn. But I think the police did take care of that. Wherever in the polling booths that I was covering, I did see a few incidents where people did get a little upset about standing in queues for a very long time. But at the end of the day, when they did vote, they were very happy. Some even had waited for 3 hours. But despite all that, the voter turnout in Visakhapatnam is only 60%, and the overall state of Andhra Pradesh is 68% as of 5 p.m. I don't know whether it will go up much more than that,
Right.
but it is much less than what it was in 2019, which was 80%. And we need to know what that probably implies. But if we look at the distribution of polling booths, polling stations, 3/4 of them are in the rural areas, and about 1/4 of them are in the urban areas. And we did see large numbers in the urban areas. This is an eyewitness account that I'm giving, but I suppose that there were a pretty large voter turnout as well in the rural areas. And I'm a bit surprised that the voter turnout in Visakhapatnam is only 60%, because I saw queues throughout the whole day.
Right.
And perhaps, maybe the figures will increase towards as the Election Commission puts them together and gives us the final tally.
Mark, we've spoken about the parliamentary election, but Andhra Pradesh also held an assembly election simultaneously. How did that pan out? What are the inputs you are getting from Visakhapatnam and elsewhere in the state?
Well, indeed, 175 seats going to the polls here, and of course, some of the key seats are Kuppam. There are also other seats where the important personalities are contesting. But as far as what people have been saying is that this particular election is a very clear fight between the TDP and the YSRCP. And the TDP is, of course, in alliance with the BJP and the JSP. And clearly, they are looking to try and consolidate because of the vote share the last time round of the TDP was about 40%, and if we look at the JSP's vote share, it was about 5.8%, and if we add the BJP's vote share, it would all come up to about 47%. And given a new thrust in this election, perhaps with anti-incumbency and the like, they're hoping to get past the post of the YCP, which is ruling in the state. But if we look at some of the analysis, people do also look at perhaps the fact that any anti-incumbency vote against the YCP could also be absorbed by the Congress party, which has fielded candidates, and the India Bloc, which has fielded candidates across the entire spectrum of 175 seats. So it is a question of who's going to take that, absorb those votes if they are anti-incumbency, whether they would go to the NDA bloc or whether they would just go into the third front. Then we'd see a very closer and a tighter contest.
Indeed.
Ramesh.
All right, we leave it at that. Mark Lynn in Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Debyendu Mondal in Ranaghat in West Bengal, and Akshay Dongre at Hyderabad in Telangana. Thank you for now. Much appreciated. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Campaigning for fifth phase of India's parliamentary election in full swing, with political parties deploying their stalwarts to woo voters. A Scotch report says India created 514 million jobs between 2014 and 2024. And India gives budgetary support to Maldives, extends a $50 million loan for an additional year.
Versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters, with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's dynamic and expansive economy has been a crucible for diverse shifts in employment opportunities over the years. Many sectors are emerging with robust growth prospects. This transformation is underscored by a recent report from Scotch, India's leading think tank dealing with socio-economic issues. Take a look.
With its large and diverse economy, India has over the years witnessed multifaceted changes in terms of employment opportunities. The employment scenario in the Indian economy is constantly changing, and many sectors are showing solid growth prospects. These possibilities have been further confirmed by a report by Scotch, a think tank which deals in socio-economic issues.
51.4 crore person years of employment has been generated in the last 10 years, which averages about 5 crore employment per year.
Today, when India is moving rapidly on the path of economic development, there are some sectors which are expected to play a very important role in terms of employment opportunities in the country. This report talks about continuous reforms, the possibility of new employment, and the creation of new jobs. 5.1 crore person years of employment every year has been generated since 2014 on an average. Credit gap has declined by 12.1% during last 9 years. Report shows positive relationship between reduction in credit gap, reduction in multi-dimensional poverty.
13-14, India's financial deepening ratio was 19.71. As of 22, it had gone up to 31.85. The credit gap has fallen by 12.1% because of speeding. So this is called credit outreach gap. People who were having no access to credit, how many more people have access to credit?
The fifth series of this Modinomics report revealed that the employment figures between 2014 to 2024, according to which incentives like credit-linked employment and government schemes have led to a significant increase in employment since 2014. With this, 51.4 crore people get employment in 10 years. There was benefit in employment opportunities from government schemes. 2.52 crore people got employment through PMMY in 10 years. Financial inclusion gained momentum during Prime Minister Modi's tenure. From leveraging public services to fostering a thriving startup ecosystem, India is on the brink of offering abundant employment prospects. As the nation aims to ascend to the position of the world's third largest economy by 2027-28, a report like these serve as a testament to India's progress on the global stage, showcasing its development trajectory intertwined with employment opportunities.
India's annual retail inflation rate marginally eased to 4.83% in April 2024 from 4.85% the previous month. The Consumer Price Index inflation in March was at a 10-month low of 4.85%. The number has remained within the Reserve Bank of India's tolerance band of 2 to 6%. The inflation rate for fuel and light experienced a decrease of 4.24% in the month of April. In some more news from South Asia, India has provided a budgetary support of $50 million to Maldives. It's in the form of a rollover of a $50 million treasury bill for an additional year through the State Bank of India. India's decision to roll over the bill came after a request was made by Maldives Foreign Minister Musa Zamir to India's External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar during his visit to India last week. The Maldivian Foreign Minister took to X and thanked India for the vital budgetary support, calling it a gesture of goodwill, which signifies the long-standing friendship between Maldives and India. Meanwhile, political fervour peaks as fifth phase of India's parliamentary election draws near. Political parties are deploying their top leaders in an all-out effort to sway voters. Marathon meetings, roadshows and rallies dominate the landscape as parties vie for support. Syed Absarul Hassan has more.
Campaigning for the fifth phase of general elections in India is in full swing, with all political parties deploying their stalwarts to woo voters. They are sparing no effort to engage the electorate and organize marathon meetings along with conducting roadshows. Prime Minister addressed back-to-back rallies in the eastern state of Bihar. While addressing a public gathering in Hajipur, Prime Minister underscored the BJP's steadfast commitment to fostering a developed India and a developed Bihar. He criticized the opposition parties for their fear-mongering regarding Pakistan's nuclear capabilities.
डरपोक प्रधानमंत्री देश चला सकता है क्या? आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं, ये लोग इतने डरे हुए हैं, इनको रात में सपने में भी पाकिस्तान का परमाणु बम दिखाई देता है। अब ऐसी पार्टियां, ऐसे नेता जिनको रात में भी सोते सोते पाकिस्तान का परमाणु बम दिखाई दे, क्या इनको देश दे सकते हैं क्या?
Prior to his election rallies, Prime Minister paid respects at the Patna Sahib Gurdwara. Expressing his gratitude, Prime Minister Modi in a social media post expressed his feelings, saying he's truly blessed to immerse himself in the divinity, serenity and rich history of this sacred site. Later in the day, the Prime Minister embarked on an extensive roadshow in his hometown constituency of Varanasi, located in the western state of Uttar Pradesh. On the other hand, India's opposition Congress party leader Rahul Gandhi held election rallies in Uttar Pradesh's Raebareli, from where he has filed nomination on the last day. Rahul Gandhi is simultaneously contesting from Wayanad in Kerala, where voting has already concluded.
अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी की इंडिया गठबंधन की सरकार आ गई तो आपका कर्जा माफ करना मेरा पहला काम होगा। इतिहास में पहली बार हिंदुस्तान की सरकार कानूनी मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस अपने किसानों के लिए लाने जा रही है।
Indian Information and Broadcasting Minister and BJP candidate from Hamirpur Lok Sabha seat, Anurag Singh Thakur, filed his nomination. RJD candidate from Bihar Patliputra Lok Sabha constituency, Misa Bharti, filed her nominations for the lower house elections. Syed Absarul Hassan's report for DD India.
After holding a mega roadshow in Varanasi, BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi performed darshan and puja at the famous Kashi Vishwanath temple and sought the blessings of Baba Vishwanath ahead of filing of his nomination on Tuesday.
स्वस्ति नस्तारिणो आरिष्टाने मिहि स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्मासान्दिरे धीयतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु सन्ना कुरु प्रजाभ्यो बाहुभ्यामुदते नमः जाते रुद्रजिवातनो रघोना पापकाशिनी तया न तनुमा सन्तमया गिरिसन्ताभिजाकसी जामे सायोपवेतिने पुष्पघोगाय पतीनां पतये नमो नमः कृष्णाणि गृह्णन्तां परमेश्वर पुष्पं पुष्पमालां समर्पयामि सर्वेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यो नमः सुखानि लोकासान्या भायासानि अन्मामि कदलीकरसम्भूतं करपूरं च प्रहां बुद्धिनाशोऽस्तु मित्राणां उदयस्तव चित्तितमनोरथसिद्धिरस्तु उत्तम।
Right, moving on. Russia's military is reporting advancements on the Kharkiv direction, while Ukraine says Russian troops continued offensive actions and Ukraine would proceed with building up its forces in the area depending on the situation. Kharkiv region's borders Russia's Belgorod region, where at least 15 people died on Sunday after what Moscow calls a Ukrainian shelling. In the meantime, in a surprise cabinet reshuffle, Russia's President Vladimir Putin dismissed his closest ally Sergei Shoigu as the country's defense minister. Dasha Chernyshova has more from Moscow.
2 years into Russia's special military operation in Ukraine, President Vladimir Putin removed his longtime defense minister Sergei Shoigu in the most significant reshuffle to the military command. The Kremlin said Putin decided a civilian should head the defense ministry to ensure the department was open to innovations and advanced ideas. Thus, a veteran economist Andrei Belousov is now expected to put the security economy in line with the economy of the country so that it meets the dynamics of the current moment. In the meantime, Russian acting Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia was ready if the West wanted to fight for Ukraine. Speaking at a parliamentary hearing on his renomination to the post, he said the Western Conference on Ukraine that is due to be held in Switzerland in June has nothing to do with talks. On the ground, Russian Ministry of Defense says Russian troops improved their frontline positions and inflicted casualties on the Ukrainian army in the Kharkiv area. In Belgorod, Governor of the region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, confirmed the deaths of at least 15 people on Sunday as a result of the Ukrainian shelling. He also said explosive objects have landed in one of the villages on Monday and urged residents not to get outside until objects are removed. Dasha Chernyshova reporting in Moscow for DD India.
And in more news from Europe, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that more will change in the next 5 years than in the last 30 years at a policy exchange think tank in London. Sunak said that he would opt for national security over maintaining UK's membership in the European Convention on Human Rights.
Now, I feel a profound sense of urgency because more will change in the next 5 years than in the last 30. I'm convinced that the next few years will be some of the most dangerous, yet the most transformational that our country has ever known. Now, I know that our international frameworks are outdated, so there may be flashpoints ahead with the ECHR. And if the Strasbourg court make me choose between the ECHR and this country's security, I will choose our country's security every single time.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. Singapore's incoming Prime Minister Lawrence Wong announced a minor cabinet reshuffle on Monday ahead of assuming the top post on Wednesday. Wong appointed Trade Minister Gan Kim Yong as Deputy Prime Minister and will be Wong's replacement as the chair of the country's central bank. 49 employees of the Vatican museums have started an unprecedented labor dispute in a public challenge to Pope Francis's governance. The employees filed a class action complaint with the Vatican demanding better seniority, leave and overtime benefits. The petition represents the first formal step in a mandatory conciliation process under Vatican law. Over 100 mid-ranking commanders underwent a harassment prevention training at a Japanese ground self-defense forces camp in Tokyo. The workshop was part of an effort to understand generational differences and facilitate communication between officers. Japan's defense industry offers an annual online module on general harassment. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Israel marks Memorial Day. Thousands flee Rafah as Israeli military pushes deeper into Gaza. A separatist leader of Spain's Catalonia region quits, refuses to back the socialists to form the regional government. And India celebrates the anniversary of detonating 2 more nuclear devices on the 13th of May in 1998.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Polling for 96 seats in 4th phase of India's parliamentary election passes off peacefully. 62.84% turnout recorded till 8 p.m. Srinagar records the highest turnout in decades. India signs a 10-year pact with Iran to operate the Shahid Beheshti port in Chabahar as a connectivity hub linking South Asia and Europe via Afghanistan and Central Asia. And President Vladimir Putin of Russia taps economist Andrei Belousov for defense minister, replaces Sergei Shoigu in a surprise move. Right now to news from West Asia. Memorial Day is always a somber occasion in Israel, a country that has suffered through repeated war and conflict throughout its 76-year history. On Monday, Israel marks its Memorial Day for fallen soldiers and victims of attacks beginning at sundown on Sunday with an official ceremony. More than 600 Israeli soldiers have been killed since Hamas launched its surprise attack on the 7th of October last year. Faz Khan reports.
A 2-minute-long siren blared across Israel on Monday, bringing everyone to pause and remember fallen soldiers and civilian victims of hostilities. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu led military and government officials in marking Memorial Day at Mount Herzl Cemetery in Jerusalem. Netanyahu said The return of hostages is at the center of his strategy.
This is exactly what the war revolves around. It's either us, Israel, or them, the Hamas. We have exacted and we will exact a heavy price from the enemy for its criminal action. We will realize the goals of victory, and at the center of them is the return of all our hostages home. A victory that, with God's help, will ensure our existence and our future.
Israeli military opened a new humanitarian aid crossing into Gaza Strip in coordination with the United States of America. The crossing, known as Western Erez in northern Gaza, will facilitate the smooth transition of humanitarian aid. On Monday, Israeli forces advanced into both North and South Gaza, resulting in the displacement of thousands of Palestinians as they headed towards Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant briefed U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken about Israel's military operation in Rafah. Gallant also spoke on the takeover of Rafah border crossing near Egypt. Faiz Khan reports for DD India.
And joining me is my colleague Sarah Coates from Tel Aviv. Sarah, how did Israel observe Memorial Day this year? It is an annual commemoration for fallen soldiers and victims of terror attacks, but the 7th October Hamas attacks made it more poignant, isn't it?
It certainly did, Ramesh. More than around, I should say, 1,600 additional names have been added to the list of fallen soldiers and victims of terror this year. A very, very somber mood right across the country. People visiting cemeteries, seeing the headstones of their loved ones. Now, there certainly were a number of events around the country. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking at one in Jerusalem. He spoke about unity among the Israeli population, but really on the ground there is far from unity. Now, during his address, people held up placards in protest of Netanyahu, saying things like, "You took my children." Also, a number of people issuing a walkout. Loads and loads of people, you could see them actually walking out of this event in silence, in demonstration of what they see as a failure of Netanyahu to bring these some 130 Israeli hostages home, and also really his refusal to admit any fault in the October 7 attacks. Now, further south in Ashdod, this is where this major port is, there were clashes breaking out at a military cemetery there between the far right-wing minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and his supporters, and also bereaved families. They went down to tell Itamar Ben-Gvir to get out, calling him a criminal and a draft dodger, demanding that he leave. Now, his supporters then clashed with these people, saying that they are leftists and garbage. So you can really see these divisions laid there. But in around an hour's time, festivities will actually kick off here right around the country as Israel marks its 76th anniversary.
Right, and very quickly, Sarah, what more can you tell us about the Israeli military's operations in Gaza? Is the fighting intensifying in Rafah and Jabalia?
Well, sources on the ground certainly say that there are heavy clashes between the Israeli military and Palestinian fighters in around the Jabalia refugee camp, and also around the outskirts of Rafah, which of course is that area in southern Gaza, which was declared a safe zone up until fairly recently. Now, we have been hearing from medical sources on the ground. They say that Israeli forces have now issued an evacuation order for the Kuwaiti hospital in Rafah. And this was an area, a hospital, I should say, that only had 16 beds, one of the only places that was actually allowing any casualties to come in. Now, we are also hearing that the European hospital in Khan Yunis has now run out of fuel, really making it unavailable, inaccessible for anyone to try and get treatment, while the Rafah border crossing, which was the only point for people to get out for urgent medical treatment, it remains closed, Ramesh.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv, thank you. Much appreciated. Right, in other news, in Spain, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's Socialist Party won a local election in Catalonia. Salvador Illa, the regional socialist candidate, secured 42 seats of the 99% votes counted. The vote count is up from 33 in the year 2021. Negotiations or a potential repeat election may follow, as the party has not yet secured majority votes. Nonetheless, this win opens the door for a regional government led by an anti-independence party, which is a shift from the past years. Georgia's parliamentary committee greenlit the third reading of the Foreign Agents Bill on Monday, paving the way for the full parliament to vote on its final approval this week. Prime Minister Irakli Kovakidze has affirmed the government's commitment to enacting the legislation, which requires organizations receiving more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register as foreign agents or face fines. Earlier on Sunday, 20 people, including one Russian and 2 US nationals, were arrested after opposition parties called for an overnight protest outside the country's parliament, calling the bill authoritarian and influenced by Russia. In the US, Michael Cohen, the one-time fixer for Donald Trump, who is now the star witness at his criminal trial, described a single-minded devotion to his former boss as he testified on Monday about his involvement in buying and burying negative stories about Trump during the 2016 campaign. The case against Trump revolves around a $130,000 payment made by Cohen to adult film star Stormy Daniels, intended to secure her silence about an alleged encounter with Trump before the 2016 election. Cohen maintained that he was instructed to make the payment.
This trial is rigged. It's dishonest. It's a disgrace to New York. It's a disgrace to the country. I should be out campaigning now instead of sitting in a very cold courthouse all day long. This is a Biden prosecution. It's election interference at a level that nobody in this country has ever seen before. This is for third world countries, not for the USA.
Marking a historic moment in its ties with Iran, India on Monday signed a 10-year contract for operating the Shahid Beheshti port in Chabahar. It's the closest Iranian port to India. The port gives a secure access to large cargo ships. The agreement enables India to expand its footprint in the global supply chain and the maritime sector as well. Meghna Dev reports.
In a major move to boost regional connectivity and strengthen bilateral partnership, India and Iran signed a long-term contract for the operation of the Shahid Beheshti port in Chabahar. India will develop and operate Iran's strategic Chabahar port for 10 years. The contract has been signed between India Ports Global Limited and Ports and Maritime Organization of Iran. The signing took place in presence of Indian Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways Sarbananda Sonowal and Minister of Roads and Urban Development of Iran Mehrdad Bazbash.
दुनिया की सबसे लोकप्रिय नेता प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के निर्देश के मुताबिक आज हम लोगों ने हमारे चबाहार पोर्ट की लॉन्ग टाइम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में आज हम लोगों ने दस्तखत की है और ये बहुत साल से बातचीत चल रहे थे। इतना दिन तक तो ये शॉर्ट टर्म के थे, तो इसलिए इस पोर्ट के भविष्य को मजबूत बनाने के सिलसिले में और रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी को बढ़ावा देने के लिए प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का जो विजन है, उस विजन को साकार करने के लिए आज ऐसे एक ऐतिहासिक कदम उठाए गए हैं।
The very clear expectation is that the Chabahar port, at least that part of the Chabahar port that we are involved in, that will definitely see more investments. It will see more connectivity linkages coming out of that port. And we believe today that connectivity is a very big issue in that part. International North-South Transport Corridor, which we are doing with Iran, Russia. Chabahar will connect us to that, also to Central Asia. We have a separate corridor, the IMEC corridor through Saudi Arabia.
IPGL will invest approximately $120 million in equipping the port. India has also offered an INR credit window equivalent to $250 million for mutually identified projects aimed at improving Chabahar-related infrastructure. India has so far supplied 6 mobile harbour cranes and other equipment worth $25 million for the development of the first phase of the Shahid Beheshti terminal in cooperation with the government of Iran. India Ports Global Limited has been operating the port since 2018 and has handled traffic of more than 90,000 TEUs of container traffic and more than 8.4 MMT of bulk and general cargo. With the operationalization of India's long-term investment in Chabahar, this port is likely to become an important hub for regional connectivity. The contract will also be able to enhance global trade by providing an alternate trade route to India for Iran, Afghanistan, Eurasia, and Central Asian republics. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar slammed the opposition Congress party for mistakes committed by the country's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. He cited China as a case in point. The minister was speaking at a seminar on Indian capital markets titled Roadmap for a Developed India in the country's commercial capital of Mumbai.
Congress party is holding Modi responsible for Nehru's actions in 1949 and for Bhutto's actions in 1963. But apparently they have no culpability. So I think we need to get the China issue right. Yes, there is a challenge from China. Yes, China has violated agreements and sent large number of troops to the border. But I think country should take pride in the fact, despite the COVID, we counter-deployed, we have sent troops in record numbers to the border. Those troops today at great heights in great cold, in very tough conditions, are holding their own. Country should be supporting the military. Country should not be running down the military.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Grandmasters Koneru Hampi, Vaishali Ramesh Babu and Pragnananda Ramesh Babu invited to compete at the Norway Chess. And the Cannes Film Festival kicks off on Tuesday. We preview it for you. That's coming up after a short break.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DT India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. It was in the year 1998, under the leadership of the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, that India conducted the Shakti series of nuclear tests at Pokhran. It was a pivotal moment for the country. More in the next report.
In a world driven by innovation, there comes a month to celebrate the brilliance that propels us forward. May 11th and 13th mark a pivotal moment in history. It was on these days in 1998 that India showcased its prowess in nuclear technology through the groundbreaking Pokhran tests. The day demonstrated India's ability to possess and deploy nuclear weapons, enhancing its deterrence capabilities. Pokhran 2 cemented India's status as a nuclear power. India conducted 5 nuclear tests of advanced weapon designs on 11th and 13th May 1998 at the Pokhran range in Rajasthan desert. The first 3 detonations took place simultaneously at 15:45 hours IST on 11th May. These included a 45 kiloton thermonuclear device, a 15 kiloton fission device, and a 0.2 kiloton subkiloton, that's less than 1 kiloton device. The two nuclear devices detonated simultaneously on 13th May were also in the subkiloton range of 0.5 and 0.3 kiloton. Recently, India celebrated National Technology Day on May 11th. Initiated by the visionary leader, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the day stands as a beacon of inspiration for generations to come. Bureau Report, DD India.
U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs Donald Lu is scheduled to arrive in Dhaka, Bangladesh on Tuesday. Lu will conclude his tri-nation tour of the South Asian region in Bangladesh. Earlier, he visited India and on Monday he was in Sri Lanka. According to the U.S. Department of State, Lu will discuss trade and investment, security, climate change and other prioritized issues with the Bangladesh government officials. And now take a look at what else is making news around the world. Indian Navy ship Kilton reached Vietnam's Cam Ranh Bay on Monday. The visit is part of the operational deployment of the Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet. The visit will conclude with a maritime partnership exercise at sea between the navies of India and Vietnam. India's Aam Aadmi Party's lawmaker Swati Maliwal has alleged that she was assaulted by a close aide of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal at the Chief Minister's residence. A team from the Civil Lines police station reached the Chief Minister's residence after a complaint was received. And now to all the news from the world of sport. India's Grandmasters Koneru Hampi, Vaishali Ramesh Babu and Pragnyananda Ramesh Babu are all set to compete in the 12th edition of the prestigious Norway Chess. It's scheduled to take place from the 27th of May to the 7th of June at Stavanger City of Norway. The prestigious event will feature world number 1 Magnus Carlsen, world number 3 Hikaru Nakamura, current world champion Ding Liren and women's world champion Zhu Wenjun, among others. Popularly known as the Wimbledon of chess, Norway Chess annually extends invitations to top grandmasters. The tournament aims to provide women chess players with more opportunities and a comparable prize fund. The Cannes Film Festival kicks off on Tuesday, so where does India figure in the festival this year? Munmun Bhattacharya has more.
The azure blue waters of the French Riviera and the iconic 24 steps on the red carpet are beckoning again. The curtain will lift on the Cannes Film Festival on 14th May. And for 12 days, it will be a celebration of an eclectic mix of world cinema and fashion. The Cannes Film Festival is nothing short of an annual pilgrimage for celebrities, actors, filmmakers, fashionistas and film and fashion aficionados, besides tourists who flock up to this French city to see it unleash its magic year after year. The visibility and popularity of this film festival is such that it is seen as a template for international film festivals around the world. Celebrities walk up the stairway to glory, surrounded by shutterbugs as the world watches in awe. And guess what? Amid the big names such as Meryl Streep, who will be the guest of honor at the opening ceremony, and Greta Gerwig, who's chairing the jury at the festival, India is all set to make a big splash at Cannes this year. Do you know that India is back in the reckoning in the main competition of the festival after a hiatus of 30 years? Payal Kapadia's debut feature film, All We Imagine As Light, is the first Indian film to compete for the prestigious Palme d'Or Award in 3 decades. Her documentary, A Night of Knowing Nothing, was the winner of the Golden Eye for Best Documentary during the 2021 edition of the festival. British Indian filmmaker Sandhya Suri's debut feature film Santosh will be screened under the Uncertain Regard section. Sister Midnight by Indian director Karan Kandhari will be shown in Director's Fortnight. Indian director Mesam Ali's In Retreat will have its world premiere in Association for the Diffusion of Independent Cinema. That's a parallel independent sidebar in Cannes. Sunflowers Were First Ones to Know by Chidanand Nayak,
a student of Film and Television Institute of India, has been chosen for the Last NF competitive section. The short film, made in Kannada, was shortlisted among entries from across the globe and will now compete against 17 other international short films in the final stage. Shyam Benegal's Manthan, a film focusing on the Amul Dairy cooperative movement, will be presented in the classic section, adding a touch of historical significance to the festival's Indian lineup. The film reels were preserved for several decades in film whirls and later restored. National Award-winning cinematographer Santosh Sivan will be the recipient of the prestigious Peer Ingenue tribute at the festival. He will also deliver a masterclass for Cannes delegates, becoming the first Indian to be honoured with this distinction. The Bharat Pavilion at the festival will be inaugurated on 15th May in the presence of eminent film personalities. Designed by the National Institute of Design in Ahmedabad, the pavilion depicts this year's theme of Create in India.
In the Indian camp, the spotlight is going to be on two things. One is a session that is titled Abundant Incentives, Seamless Facilitations, Come Create in India. Here the focus is going to be on how India is offering so many incentives for film production, on co-production opportunities, as well as on post-production facilities in India. Besides that, the focus is also going to be on Bharat Parv. It is for the first time that India is organizing such a festival at the Cannes Film Festival, and the focus there is going to be on networking with film personalities and stakeholders from around the world, besides promoting the two marquee international film festivals hosted by India, MIF and IFFI, and of course showcasing Indian talent and opportunities. So come to Cannes, and if you can't, do watch our coverage of the Cannes Film Festival on DD News and DD India, and get ready for India to unleash its magic at the Cannes Film Festival in 2024. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Mundan Bhattacharya for DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Up. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Up.